Hello, everyone, and welcome to another pregame show with Butt Fumble Sports. We're going to go through the entire night of sports action here on Cinco de Mayo. Hope you're having a great holiday and celebrating with the right lubricant. Questions in the chat. Tucker, I hope you're having a great night. For all of those joining us, make sure you throw your questions in the chat. If you need help with your DFS lineup, if there are certain player prop bets that you want to look into, if there are certain games you want to look into, Butt Fumble Sports is here to help with all of it. And of course, we're being assisted by Outlier, a great sports betting app that you can find. We've pinned it to the top of our Twitter account. So go to our Twitter account, Sports Fumble on Twitter. And here you can check out on our TikTok and YouTube broadcast. Here's what the Outlier website looks like. Really easy to use. That's what we're going to be using to do our research tonight. So settle in, throw your questions in the chat. Here to help with all of your sports betting questions, DFS questions, everything. And of course, as we do our research, one thing I've added, we're going to show our picks. So if you ever have a question, here I'm going to be swapping between the group. But as we add the best bets of the night, we'll throw them up here. And that way, if you ever miss a part of the show, we'll have them up. But we're going to do our research. We're going to go through all of these games, NBA, NHL, and MLB, to find the best bets of the night. So throw your questions in the chat. Let us know what you guys are focused on tonight, if there are certain plays you want to look into, or if you want to follow us along. And just as I look for the best bets of the night, which is what I'll be doing. Right off the top, we're looking at some of the better bets. Jokic, rebounds, the under 14.5. He has failed to exceed 14.5 rebounds in 19 of his last 20 road games after a win. Really interesting, the strength of that. You're getting that at minus 154 on FanDuel. So again, this is how we kind of look at what are the best bets out there. We like looking at trends. Butt Fumble Sports, we're not about going with the brand name. We're not about just going with the favorite. We're certainly not about following the public. We love looking at the trends. One of the trends to keep aware of, the Boston Celtics, 5-1 against the spread when it comes to the 76ers. Boston, 2.5-point favorite tonight. I also sent out a tweet earlier about Scott Foster is going to be referee for that game. He has had a favorable whistle in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. So one thing to keep an eye on are the referees in tonight's game. These are just a couple of the spreads right off the top, or a couple of the notes. Here's an interesting bet that I'm definitely got my eye on here. I'm going to make sure you can see it on the screen if you're watching on TikTok Live and on YouTube. Joel Embiid has exceeded 21.5 points in 24 of his last 29 games. Over under tonight, we get here over 21.5. That's a FanDuel bet, but that's at -1. That's at -400. Not necessarily a great bet. Let's take a look at that a little bit further. Joel Embiid point total for those who are interested in player prop bets. Looking at some of these player prop bets, you see where the plus money becomes minus money. 106 to 113. It's at 25.5 points. Interesting. With how the Celtics have played him, you got to wonder if he's going to hit under that 25.5. But 21.5, no, that one feels like a much better play. Anyway, just looking at some of the early prop bets, early trends, things that are out there on Outlier is where we're checking them out. If you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. Josh, glad you're joining us. Hope you have a great time at that bachelor party. And as you stick with us, we'll definitely try and find you some best bets tonight. So we're going to look at some of the player prop bet, and I'm going to start with the MLB. I certainly have my eye on that. If I can get these props to load, which at the moment I cannot. So we'll switch to the NBA. That's how easy that is. So we'll go check out some player prop bets in the NBA right now, see if there are any that really catch our eye. Obviously, two games tonight. The New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics play the Philadelphia 76ers in the first game of the evening, and the second game of the night is the Denver Nuggets in Phoenix play the Suns. Okay, interesting one here. Not one I necessarily would have agreed with, but Cameron Payne assists under 5.5. Keep in mind, no Chris Paul. That's an interesting bet. And the reason it's interesting is you're getting better odds on that than you would have otherwise in the series. Obviously, an underplay, you would have gotten that at, minus 250 or something at another time in the series. But that's a really interesting one. He's going to have to step into the role of Chris Paul, be a facilitator during this game. I'm surprised that Outlier actually notes that trend. I favor the other side a little bit. I think Cameron Payne is going to be a more integral, he's going to be a more important piece in this game, I should say. Here's one that I do like, though. Mitchell Robinson, over 5.5 points. That's definitely one I've got my eye on. You just look at how that trend has gone. 5.5 points, you're getting at minus 132. Over 5.5, and you just see how consistent he's been with that. That's what his point total has been over the last 10. You just see Mitchell Robinson, 5.5 points has been a really solid play. We're also going to do some additional research. Let's check it out. Mitchell Robinson, game log stats versus Knicks. StatMuse, let's see what they have to offer. Oh, that's not what I want. It's not against the Warriors. I didn't mean to put against the Knicks. I meant to put against the Heat. That's why that screwed up. So let's check out what StatMuse has to say. StatMuse, another great place to find information. This is Mitchell Robinson's stats. His game log stats against the Miami Heat. And there you just see, it's shifted towards the bottom, so you can see at the bottom here. His game log stats. This is the regular season, but 6 points, 8 points, 5 points, 6 points, 9 points, 10 points, consistently over that 4.5. Is it 4.5 that we're getting on Outlier? Is it 4.5? It was 5.5. Sorry, 5.5. Over 5.5 was a good play. I like that. Over 5.5 at minus 132. I like that bet. That's one we might add to our favorite bets here. Let's throw that up on the board. Mitchell Robinson over 5.5 points. Where are we getting that? I thought we got that at minus 132. Let's confirm that. Minus 132 on FanDuel. That's one of the bets I like so far, just in doing our research. That's what we're here for. Throw your questions or comments in the chat. That's what we're doing for the next 50 minutes or so, is going through the research on tonight's sporting events, which games, players, opportunities to bet there are. So make sure you throw your questions and comments in the chat. We'll be featuring all of them. Alexander, good to see you again. A loyal viewer. Happy to see you. If you've got questions, throw them in the chat section. We did okay on our bets yesterday. We would have done a lot better if not for the frickin' Florida Panthers upsetting the Toronto Maple Leafs. I shouldn't put it that way. I love the Panthers and their play of late, but let's be honest. The Toronto Maple Leafs, like every time you need them to win, they always poop their pants. So should have known better. I loved my parlay with the Warriors and the Maple Leafs yesterday. I was definitely touting that one. It looked really good when the Leafs were up 2-0, and then poop your pants time happened. So disappointed that parlay didn't work out, but our MLB plays did really well yesterday. Our DFS lineups have been red hot. We've scored in our DFS lineups in 4 of our last 5 days of putting out a DFS lineup. So make sure you go to our website, hit the link in our bio, buttfumblesports.com. Make sure you check out all of our picks, all of our plays for DFS. Do I remember your money line play yesterday, Alexander? No, I don't. But that's only because between my bets and all the other bets that I'm advising on, so many get lost in it. Panthers and Golden State money line. Yeah, you went the opposite of me. You had Panthers, I had Leafs. You were smarter than me on that one because I didn't think the Panthers were going to be able to keep that winning streak alive. I thought Maple Leafs at home, after they lose game 1, they'll come out, they'll show a little fight. They did for the first period, and then, like I said a moment ago, Maple Leafs turned into Maple Leafs come playoff time. So, anyways, we're looking at some of our favorite bets of the day, just looking at player prop bets for the NBA. We'll also look into MLB as well. One of the first ones we looked at that we put up on the board of bets that we like is is Mitchell Robinson over 5.5 points. In doing our research, that looked like a good bet. I got that at minus 132. We're using the we're using the Outlier app. If you don't know Outlier, great sports betting app. If you go to our Twitter account, Sports Fumble on Twitter, I have a pinned tweet at the very top of the account with our Outlier linked right there. Go check it out. Great place to find data. Alexander, I appreciate you throwing in your comments. Make sure you continue throwing questions about today's plays if you want to look into them. Let's see if we can get that MLB player prop bet going. There we go. So looking at some player prop bets for MLB tonight. Make sure you can see it on the screen. Just looking at some of the good plays. Let me get on my other computer. You won't be able to see this, but I want to make sure I have the starting pitcher matchups for tonight loaded up. So one of the games I really like when it comes to the overplay is the Maple Leafs, oh my God, is the Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays against the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the guys I have my eye on tonight is Matt Chapman. Let's see what we can get with Matt Chapman odds. Yeah, you see, Outlier's already saying they like my play already of over hits. The only problem is you're not getting great odds on it. Minus 198 isn't terrible. I'd still probably take it. Implied probability is at 66%. That's a bet I really like. Definitely keep your eye on Matt Chapman tonight. He's going up against Rich Hill, against that lefty with the slow curve. I think Matt Chapman could have a really good night. They have under RBIs here, implied probability at 65%. I'd be willing to risk it a little bit. The bet I really like is the one you see right here. Hits plus runs plus RBIs. I put money down. I put a unit down on that earlier in the day. I got the over 1.5. You can see DraftKings has it at minus 135. I got it around that at those odds as well. So I really like that play. Matt Chapman over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I think the Toronto offense and the Pittsburgh offense are both going to score runs tonight. I think Matt Chapman, Vlad Guerrero Jr., a number of players, look for Whit Merrifield. I think a number of them could do well against that lefty. And on the other side, Chris Bassett, I could see him giving up some runs as well. So I like the over 9 runs in that Blue Jays Pirates game. Let's put this one on the board just so you guys can see it. We're keeping track of some of our favorite bets. Another one here, Matt Chapman, over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. And again, I think we got that at minus 132 as well. Did I get that right? Minus 135. So these are a couple of the bets that we really like tonight. Just keeping track of them so those who are jumping in and out of the show can see them as well. There we go. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Alexander, what was it? Denver Nuggets outright. Red Sox over Cincinnati. Is this for tonight, Alexander? I guess it is. Yeah, Denver. By the way, I'm with you. I like the Nuggets tonight. I feel like the Nuggets are a juggernaut of a team. They should win the NBA title right now. From what I've seen from the Boston Celtics, what I'm seeing from the Warriors and the Lakers, I think the Nuggets are getting overlooked. And for me, it's all about Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, when he plays like this, the Nuggets are the best team in the West because Jokic is the best player in the Western Conference. All around. I know some people kind of gripe, but he's not sexy. He doesn't do things in a way that are dynamic, but he does everything right. He rebounds, he passes, he scores. His pick and roll is phenomenal. So everything he does well. I really like Denver tonight. Let's actually look into that game a little bit. So for those watching on TikTok Live and YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow. That way you know every time we go live. You can see on our screen here, we're just going to dive into this Nuggets-Suns game. And I want to look at the idea of taking the Nuggets on the money line. So showing it here on the screen, diving into it. Nuggets have won their last 3 games, 4 of their last 5. Head-to-head, they've won 3 of their last 5 against the Suns. But keep in mind, again, no Chris Paul. No Chris Paul. I think that's a huge factor. There is a trend that's working against us that you can see on the right side of the screen right here. The Phoenix Suns are 40-14 as a favorite during the season. You're getting them at minus 180. One of the reasons I actually like the Denver Nuggets tonight, if I was to take a bet, I like them to cover the spread. That's where I'd really put my money. But if you like the odds on them to win, plus 158 is pretty good. given that they have a 2-game lead, they really impressed in those 2 games. I don't feel like the travel is going to be that big a factor because they've had days to recover, to kind of prepare. And also, you don't think of Phoenix as a place that players are going to get distracted like LA or Miami. Alexander, I agree with you, actually. I think Paul being out might be a good thing for the Suns bench to become more involved, and in so doing, it might be a good thing because the Suns need to activate some of their bench scorers. But that said, no one facilitates better than Chris Paul, and I think there are moments in the game where his leadership really makes an impact, especially when the Nuggets start to tilt the scales in terms of momentum. When the Nuggets get running downhill, Chris Paul has a good job of kind of reestablishing the tempo. And do you think Cameron Payne can do that? I have my doubts. Make sure you guys are hitting that follow button. Make sure you hit that like button, of course. That way, when you follow us, every time we go live, we try to do an hour at least of pregame show before every big slate of MLB games. And of course, today, plenty of MLB action to look into. As I mentioned earlier, Toronto Maple Leafs, I've done that now twice. Toronto Blue Jays going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Blue Jays coming off a 4-game sweep against the Boston Red Sox. They lost 4 straight against the Sox. They got swept. Pirates have been red hot. They remain atop the NL Central in a surprise. As you can see, Toronto, the favorite, at this point, taking Pittsburgh plus 1.5. Interesting bet day in, day out. I wouldn't do it today because I love the Blue Jays offense against Rich Hill, but an interesting one. Khalil Boy, I'll get to your question in just one second. Just want to complete this thought on the Blue Jays and Pirates. The total is set at 9 runs. I mentioned earlier, I love the over in this game, and here's why. Toronto, over has hit 5 games in a row. Pittsburgh, the over's been a little hit or miss. 3 out of the last 5, only 1 out of the last 3. But that said, they were facing the Rays pitching staff before. They're facing Chris Bassett tonight. I don't look towards this the head-to-head history. That was, last September. But Toronto scoring as many runs as they have, I feel like they'll be able to score runs tonight, no issue. Rich Hill again, a lefty. Unless he is untouchable with his curveball, I definitely feel like guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr., Matt Chapman, Whit Merrifield, and others will be able to get runs and home runs, if not doubles off of him. So I like that over 9 runs in the Blue Jays Pirates game. Okay, Khalil Boy, you think the Warriors get past the Lakers? I do, but I have a shocker for you. I'm going to go in a direction that would go against actual statistics and probabilities. I think the Lakers are going to win Game 3. I think Anthony Davis is going to do what we've seen. He's going to have a great bounce-back game in Game 3, and I think the Lakers are actually going to win in Game 3. However, despite the Game 3 winner of a series winning like 75, 78% of the time in the NBA, I think the Warriors will ultimately come back and win the series. So I like the Lakers in Game 3, but I like the Warriors in the series. I see it going 7. I think the Warriors will steal Game 4 in LA, will set it back as a home court advantage in their favor. I think the Warriors then win both games in Golden State and win in 7 over the Lakers. That would be my pick. Okay, Juice the German, great to see you. Parlay, Suns, Boston, and Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns. Again, the Gilbert Burns fight. Who's he fighting this weekend? Hey, Juice the German. Who's Gilbert Burns fighting this weekend? Oh, he's facing Cejudo. Oh, I like Cejudo in that one. And I'm getting Cejudo at plus money. I actually, I feel differently than you do. Interesting that you're going in the other direction. I like Cejudo. He's got the 7-inch reach advantage. He's a great grappler. I don't know why he's going at plus money. He's had the shorter layoff, so I think he's more prepared for the fight. So I'm actually going in the other direction. Oh, is it Burns? Oh, I was talking about Sterling Cejudo. My bad. I'm going Cejudo for the Sterling Cejudo fight. But Juice the German's giving you a great UFC pick right here. Burns versus Muhammad, and he's going with Burns. So if you guys like betting UFC, you can check some of these comments out. UFC betting isn't something we do a ton of, obviously, but I like Cejudo in that fight. Juice the German likes You like Burns. So he's got a parlay of Suns, Celtics, and Gilbert Burns for the win. Okay, Drew, we are doing player prop bets. Just ask us if there's any that you certainly want to look into. We're using our prop bet finder. I had it on Matt Chapman earlier. Just looking at some MLB ones. I want to look at minimum odds. Let's see if we can get a good 150 bet. A good 150 bet. So throwing it up on the screen so you guys can see it. If you guys are watching on TikTok Live, make sure you hit that follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Drew, I'll get to your question in just 1 second. Just looking at some of these player prop bets with good implied probabilities. Robbie Grossman in a Rangers-Angels game, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Robbie Grossman. And you just see, that's a really good play. Over his last 10, over 1.5 runs, hits, and RBIs. Really strong play. I'm getting that at plus money, plus 125. Let's throw that one up on our board of favorite player prop bets tonight. That's Robbie Grossman. Over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. We like that one. We're getting that at plus one. Was it plus 125 or was it plus 120? Plus 120. Boom. So there are a couple of our favorite player prop bets that we're showing up on the screen right now. If you guys can see, which you can't because I'm blocking it. So there are a few of the ones we like so far tonight. As we do our research, we're throwing them up on the screen. That way, those who jump into the show can track along. Just doing our research using the Outlier app, a great sports betting tool, so you can get the analytics and the data that you need to make the smartest bets possible. These are a few of the bets that, if I'm being very, very honest, I never would have known about. Matt Chapman, I might have been drawn to in a DFS play, but I wouldn't have known that the implied probability for all of these is either 50 or better or good odds. So being able to find the analytics behind this, know that these are good plays, that's what it's all about. Okay, Devin Booker over 2.5 3-pointers. No CP3 tonight. Drew, we know about the no CP3. I'm curious to know about the... Interesting. Let's check out Booker. So we're going to throw in Devin Booker's name into Outlier so we can track this. Answering Drew's question. If you throw your questions in the chat, we'll do the research around it as well. Where are 3-pointers? Do we have 3-pointers? Here are 3-pointers. Here we go. So if you can see it on the screen. I just shifted it up so you guys should be able to see it. So Devin Booker, 3-pointers, 2.5 over the play, getting that implied probability is 51%. Minus 105, minus 105. Let's dive into it a little bit deeper. You see that's been a hot play. However, there is a trend note here. So you see it's been a favorable play of late. Keep in mind that is with Chris Paul, though. Here's a note, though, for Drew. This little strongest trend note. Devin Booker has failed to exceed 2.5 3-pointers made in 13 of his last 15 games against top 10 scoring defenses. Very interesting stat. That includes Game 1 against Denver. So the trend suggests taking the under on the 2.5 3-pointers. I don't like that trend. Drew, part of me wants to fade that trend because I'm with you. I feel like without Chris Paul, first of all, it puts the ball in the hands of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant that much more, which means the likelihood of them shooting increases, especially when it comes to 3-pointers, because I feel like they're going to feel the urge to just fire from distance when they feel like they even have a little bit of airspace. So Drew, even though that the trend is saying to go towards the under, a lot of me wants to say taking the over with Devin Booker over 2.5 3-pointers. I wouldn't put it out as the best bet of the night, certainly, but that's one in which it's tough for me to follow that trend because I feel like that trend is a reflection on Chris Paul being there and not on a reflection on what the environment's going to be tonight. The only thing, though, That trend has a lot to do with the defense that he's going against, and he is going against a really strong defense in the Denver Nuggets. So it's a tough one. I guess what I'm really saying is, Drew, I wouldn't go after that bet. Devin Booker 3-pointers just wouldn't be a bet I would go play. Make sure you guys hit that follow button. That way you know every time Butt Fumble Sports is live, and that way you're always a part of the conversation. Okay, Alexander, breaking news, breaking news. Vegas betting line, Denver win by 17 or more. Yeah. If Denver won by that many, okay, that would be crazy. Okay, Gavin asks, can you check Aaron Gordon over 14.5 points? Of course we can, Gavin. That's what we're here for. Appreciate you joining and appreciate your question. Aaron Gordon, let's check him out. Here's one good sign for you. Already, when I look up this trend on Outlier, they have it at 15.5. They do have it as an under, but you're asking about 14.5. Here's the 14.5. They're saying an implied probability of 50%. So this really is a coin flip in their eyes. Let's dive into it a little bit deeper. One of the things I mentioned a moment ago that I always do that. One thing I mentioned a moment ago that I like to do is I like to look at where the minus money becomes plus money. 13.5 is plus 116. 14.5 plus 100, 15.5 minus 154. That's on the under. That's on the under. The over there, you see 14.5 minus 109. Man, it's not a great trend based off of the look of the last 10 games. Not a great trend. Let's do some additional research. Let's look up Aaron Gordon game log stats versus the Suns. Now this is the regular season. .26 points, 12, 28. Man, in the regular season, he did really well against them. That said, man, this is tough. This is a tough one because I could see Aaron Gordon having a decent game. Again, part of that is I feel like DeAndre Ayton, first of all, just isn't physical enough, just doesn't show enough for me. But I feel like his attention is always going to be drawn to Jokic, and that's going to open up things down low for Aaron Gordon. Now I want to check out Aaron Gordon, just his game log stats overall. We're answering a question that was put in the chat about Aaron Gordon over under 15.5 points. I would take the over 15.5, or 14.5 rather. Gavin, I like your thinking. I would go the over. I don't feel crazy about it. It's one in which if I were to put a unit down on it, that would be the max. I wouldn't go much more than that. But I could see him getting 16 points. I think you're going to be sweating it the whole game. I don't feel like it's a comfortable bet. But I could see it in part because how are the Suns' defense going to be shifting to try to stay within another thing, too. I also think that the Suns are going to sacrifice defense to try and score on offense. I think the Phoenix Suns are saying to themselves, if we're going to win this game, we've got to score. I don't think that's right necessarily, but I think the Phoenix Suns are going to have that mentality. If we're going to win Game 3 at home, we have to outscore Denver. Obviously they do, but I mean, we got to get more possessions. We got to fire faster. That goes to the Devin Booker prop bet that we spoke to a moment ago. I think it also speaks to this, which is I think the Suns are going to be less committed on the defensive end of the ball, and they're going to be really focused on the offensive side. So I think that may give opportunities to Aaron Gordon. By the way, DeAndre Ayton is one of the softest players in the league for someone who should be tough. Like, I'm sure he is tough. He could kick my ass. But that's not what I'm talking about. There are certain players in the league who should be tough. Like, who should be badasses, who should be physical. And DeAndre Ayton, I feel like should fall into that category. But given what he actually is, he's incredibly soft. He should be so much more physical. Like, he just isn't. He just isn't. Like, he kind of doesn't like to play physical from what I've seen. He almost likes to play a kind of like touch game where he's about floating more than he is bodying up. But I'm not a big DeAndre Ayton guy, if I'm honest. Every time I think that he's going to emerge and take that like next step, I always end up disappointed. And again, you could say something similar about Anthony Davis. The difference is when Anthony Davis shows up, he's the superstar of superstars. DeAndre Ayton, he's like the third best player on the Suns when he plays like that. So anyways, I kind of fade DeAndre Ayton as a whole. Okay, Drew is asking about Jamal Murray over 38 fantasy points. I don't know about fantasy points because we are not playing NBA fantasy lately. So let's just take a look at what we expect from him overall. How about that? Let's reset. Let's take a look at what we expect from Murray. And this is one way I actually like to use the Outlier app to kind of reverse engineer some of my fantasy plays, my DFS plays. Here's an example of it for basketball, but I do this a lot for baseball as well. Sometimes I'll come on here and I'll just look for plays that are good opportunities where it's like, okay, perfect example. Rebounds, they're thinking it's about 3.5, 4, just based off of how they're setting the line. So keeping you, Drew, if you're watching right now, kind of follow along as we're thinking up fantasy points. They're saying points and assists under 32.5 and probability of 34. So here's the big question. Points, rebounds, and assists, they're saying 32.5 over has a 66% chance of hitting. If you say you need 38 fantasy points and they're saying 32.5 has a 66% probability of hitting, I feel like you're actually in decent shape to hit that 38 fantasy score. So that's how I'm kind of reverse engineering that. Okay, Gavin, appreciate you throwing your questions in the chat. Guys, make sure you hit that follow button. That way you're following Butt Fumble Sports. Gavin's got another one. I love Malcolm Brogdon over 75.5 points plus assists tonight. That's an important one. Gavin, appreciate the follow. Happy to answer your question. Let's check it out. And I actually like where your head's at. If you were just talking about points, I would be like, no, that's way too high. Okay, even as we jump on, Gavin, I hope you can see here, points plus assists. 16.5 for Malcolm Brogdon. The implied probability is 62%. So immediately what I would say is we love that. There you see the 62% on Malcolm Brogdon over 16.5 points plus assists. Now, you were asking about 17.5. So let's jump into it a little bit more, get a little bit more in depth on it. Want to make sure you guys can see the screen, right? So slide down. Okay. Here's one of the things you love to see if you're in your position right now, Gavin. Last 10 games, look at where he's at. Only once has he missed 16.5. I know, again, you're worried about 17.5, but look how strong a play that's been. He's only missed 17.5 twice. And one of the things I actually love about Malcolm Brogdon, again, is he's a really smart player, unlike at times Marcus Smart, in that he doesn't chuck up a useless three. He'll drive down to the post, and he'll take a smaller guard down to the post, and he'll just get an easy layup. So you get him on a great shooting percentage from three, but you also get him kind of being a more physical guard down at the post. So I love him being able to get you around, 10, 12 points right there. The assist is what's interesting to me because, again, he gets you points, but Jason Tatum had a bad game too. Does anyone think Jason Tatum's going to have back-to-back bad games? I don't. And I think Malcolm Brogdon could be a big part of that, facilitating to Jason Tatum. So we're looking at 17.5 points plus assists. Right here, you're getting that over at minus 113. I like it. I like it, Gavin. That is a play I would make. Malcolm Brogdon over 17.5 points plus assists. Going to do one more piece of research just to take it all the way here. Malcolm Brogdon, game log stats versus 76ers. So this is just looking at his averages in the last 4 games against the 76ers. This is in the regular season, but you just look, 14.5 points, 2.5. So you're sweating it a little bit based off the regular season numbers, but he's been playing really well in the postseason, so I like that play. Malcolm Brogdon over 17.5 points plus assists. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you guys follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube at ButtFumble Sports. You can also find us on Twitter at SportsFumble. If you go to our Twitter account right now, at SportsFumble, I have a pinned tweet up at the top of our account for Outlier. You're seeing it here. It is a great sports betting tool. They do an outstanding job of getting you the kind of insights and information that you can use to make smart bets. We're not about brand names. We're not about stars. We're certainly not about following the public. It's about giving you guys data, information, so whether you want to follow us or fade us, you have all of the information, the trends that you need to make the smartest bets possible. That's what ButtFumble Sports is all about, and Outlier really helps us do that. It's a great tool. Go check out Outlier. You can hit that link. Again, we have a pinned tweet at SportsFumble on Twitter. Go check out Outlier. You guys have any more questions, you throw them in the chat. We're live for another 25, 30 minutes or so. Again, we do a pregame show almost every single day of about an hour to 2 hours long where we cover MLB, NHL, NBA, everything you need. Again, for betting as well as for DFS, we have been red hot with our DFS plays, actually. We have cashed in 4 of our last 5 days. So if you want to go check out our DFS lineup, there's a link in our bio. Hit that link. It takes you right to our website, buttfumblesports.com, and you can see the lineup that we have put out there for today. Some games that I like for stacking purposes today. I like the Pirates and the Blue Jays game, but I want Blue Jay hitters as much as possible. I might throw in a few Pirates in that one, but I do like the stacking of Blue Jay hitters in that game. And as for a later window, I'm stacking Dodgers tonight. Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, David Peralta. I'm stacking as many Dodgers into that late game lineup as possible. So those are a few DFS notes for you if you play MLB DFS. Appreciate all you guys being with us. We're checking out some of the games to bet on tonight. The Boston Celtics are the favorite tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers. I do have the Celtics covering in this one. I didn't feel great about it when I heard the news about James Harden has a special guest, the young man who got shot at Michigan State, who's since recovered. He'll be in the building tonight. Obviously, Joel Embiid's getting his MVP award. I bet you Allen Iverson's in the building, last MVP for the 76ers and the current one. So there's just going to be a lot of juice in the building. I really think the Celtics are going to win, though. If anything, I actually think Joel Embiid helps the Boston Celtics a little bit. Let me explain. Joel Embiid can get a lot of points, but I think the Celtics defensively are better suited playing the 76ers when Joel Embiid is in the 76ers lineup. I feel like when the 76ers can roll out a bunch of three-point shooters and they're harder to guard, they're harder to figure out, I actually think that's when the Celtics are in danger. So I think Joel Embiid being out there, Al Horford, Robert Williams, I think how the Celtics like to defend, I think they do better when Joel Embiid is actually out there. He might get 35 points, but I actually think it limits where the other players for the 76ers. Their other shooters are less involved. I think their role players, I think Maxi's less involved. I think Harden is definitely. So for a number of reasons, I actually like the Celtics tonight. Alexander in the chat, Boston going to smash them again. Okay, Alexander likes it. Gavin's got another one for us. One more. I'll get out. Gavin, this is why we're here, so never feel that way. That's what we're all about. I never want you guys feeling like you're a nuisance. Quite the contrary. ButtFumble Sports is a sports content company built for fans, by fans, all about helping sports fans. So to our slogan, we never want the sports fan to feel like number 2. You should always come number 1. So to Gavin's question, Michael Porter Jr. under 2.5 three-pointers made. He has not been shooting so far. Okay, let's check that one out. That is, by the way, this is why I really like the like I mentioned, the Outlier app, because talk about a bet I would never look into is Michael Porter Jr. and his over 3-pointers. Just not a bet I'd look into, but I love the fact that someone out there like you, Gavin, is like, oh my God, Michael Porter Jr., is he going to get 3-pointers? So let's find that. Okay, if you can see right here, hope you guys can see on the screen if you're watching on TikTok Live or on YouTube, you can see 3-pointers made. Porter Jr., 2.5. The over implied probability is 40%. Under 2.5 implied probability is 65%. Tells you a lot right there. The odds also, minus 186, minus 185 is the best you're going to get. Those odds are telling you Vegas feels pretty strongly he's not going to hit that number. Let's take a look at it. So this is for the under. There you just see it's really tailed off. Really tailed off in this series. Really tailed off at the end of the Minnesota series. Really, since the playoffs started, Michael Porter Jr. is not shooting 3-pointers. And by the way, it makes sense. It doesn't work well for the Denver Nuggets offense. I know the Denver Nuggets have a number of really good role players outside of Jokic, but that's and Jamal Murray, obviously. But that said, Michael Porter Jr., they don't want to take bad shots. They're such an efficient team offensively. There's no reason to. Gavin, I have his under as well. Just looking at the data, looking at these trends, I would take under 2.5 3-pointers for Michael Porter Jr. D. Lee PRA will be 11. D. Lee PRA. I don't know what you're referring to, Alexander. Can you explain that in the chat? I don't actually quite know what that is. If that's something in UFC or something I'm missing, feel free to correct me here. D. Lee Sons. Okay. Andreas is asking, LeBron James under points, kind of been playing like an ass even though they've been winning. Okay, let's check it out. By the way, appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. That way you know every time we go live and you can get help with all these picks. Sorry for not understanding the question, Alexander. I'll get back to it in 1 second. Sorry, Alexander. I'll get back to it in 1 second. We want to look at LeBron James. LeBron James. Okay. LeBron James. Looking at LeBron James points. Andreas is looking at the under points for LeBron James. 26.5, the under, implied probability 51%. So it's tight. It's tight. This is the last 10 games. Andreas, what did you have the total set at? What did you get LeBron James point total set at? And I'll get to your other questions, guys. We're just answering this question right here. I also want to look at LeBron James game log stats versus Warriors. So against the Stat Muse, you're charging me money. That's lame. There you go. There you see at the top. This is the regular season, though. So, we're looking at LeBron James point total. Andreas, where'd you got that at fluctuating between 25 and 26.5? I mean, I take it under 26.5. Let's put it that way. I would buy that up. I try to get that at 26.5, and I would take the under. One of the things I actually think is going to be in your favor is I think Anthony Davis is going to have a bounce-back game, as we've come to expect. So I like the idea of getting LeBron James under his point total because I actually think, one, Anthony Davis is going to score more. 2, LeBron James is going to want to facilitate more. And 3, the fact that the Lakers are at home, what do we know about role players? They shoot better at home. I think LeBron James is more likely to be a facilitator, try to get the rest of his teammates involved, especially Anthony Davis. I actually think that means his assists may go up. His rebounds may go up because he's trying to be a rebounder, facilitator, outletter, someone who's kind of helping everyone else get involved. But I think LeBron James's point total could be under the 26.5, Andreas. Okay, Jesus, the app we're using is Outlier. If you go to our Twitter account, @SportsFumble, @SportsFumble is our Twitter account. We have a pinned tweet at the very top for an Outlier. You can hit that link, takes you right there. Check it out. It is an outstanding tool for finding all of the information and trends that you need. Who do you think will take over, KD or Booker? The likelihood that it is KD in my mind is higher, because I actually think even though Booker has shown in these playoffs the likelihood that he can do it, I think KD is kind of due. So for that reason, I actually like the idea of KD going off, but I don't think it's going to be enough tonight. I like the Denver Nuggets to cover tonight. Jesus, no problem. Make sure you go to our Twitter account. Again, that's @SportsFumble on Twitter. Go check out that pinned tweet. Okay. We had a question in here a moment ago from... Oh, want to answer Alexander's question. Because I've been tardy on it. Points, rebounds, and assists for Damian Lee, because I've been tardy on it. Alexander, you've been a great loyal follower. Want to make sure I get to it. I'm not even seeing it. So, not seeing it on the board at the moment. Here on Outlier, so unfortunately don't have an answer for you on that one. Yeah, I'm not seeing Damian Lee come up on this. Sorry. Andreas, Philly or Celtics? I bet the Celtics -2.5. I bet Boston to cover tonight. There's a lot of emotional baggage that's having me kind of nervous about that pick. But if I have to go off of the trends and off of the history and kind of put the baggage aside, it should be the Boston Celtics. When Joel Embiid has been on the floor for the 76ers this year, the Celtics have won 4 of the 5 games he's played. So I've got to believe that the favor actually, or the advantage is actually in Boston's favor, even though they have their MVP supposedly full go with the rust off from Game 2. So even though there's going to be juice in that building, the MVP award, everything, I've got the Celtics covering tonight, the 2.5. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Make sure you guys hit that follow button. That way you know every time we go live. Just like today, we go live before as a pregame show before the MLB games, the major window of them. That's what we did tonight. We do that almost every single day. So make sure you hit that follow button. That way you know every time we go live. There was another question here I wanted to get to. Irving asks, "Hey bro, Rays versus Yankees. I'm taking the Rays. We can jump into the data a little bit more. I'm taking the Rays just based off of the trends I saw read last night, but I did those off of covers.com, which is another website I really like. So let's dive into it here. Rays at home, by the way, have been a juggernaut, something to keep in mind. Let's take a look at, so this is looking at the Rays on the money line. Head-to-heads are from last year, so not as relevant. The Rays have just been red hot. Won 4 of their last 5. Swept the Pirates, despite the Pirates being one of the best teams in the NL so far. Yankees have really struggled. The injuries are really hurting the Yankees. I mean, do I think the Yankees are a playoff team? Yes. But it is concerning the fact that they're out to such a slow start. Looking at these ERAs, by the way, and this is something that you should be aware of if you're going to bet this game tonight. Just look at this. Johnny Brito of the Yankees, 5.56 ERA, 0.67 ERA, or 6.4 ERA for Chirinos. Now, he's only pitched 14 innings compared to the 22, but it just tells you the Rays have really good pitching. They're at home. I like Rays on the money line tonight. That's an easy play for me. Okay, Jesus is asking about Dodgers and San Diego Padres. That's a game in which I love the Dodgers for stacking purposes in DFS. Let's take a look at it from a betting standpoint. Again, I love the matchup for the LA hitters in this one. Making sure the starting pitcher in that one is Yu Darvish for the Padres. So anyways, Dodgers 5-0 in their last 5 games. They've been red hot. Padres 4-1 in their last 5 games. Oops, I'll shift you over here. So both teams have been playing well of late. Head to head. looking at, there's not great trends. There's not great data on this one, actually. Here, let's shift over. Let's go to covers.com. Let's check covers.com. Covers.com is another website we love to use here at Butt Fumble Sports. Great place to find information. This is more of a pure trend research play right here. For you guys, I'm going to shift you over so you can see. Here are the trends for this game. Padres hosting the Dodgers. The head-to-heads, the under is 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between the two teams. Interesting stat. Not seeing good trends though, and just like on Outlier, a lot of these trends are they've almost got too large a sample size. Padres have been hot of late at home. Don't have a great answer for you right now, Jesus, about this game. I'd prefer to take the Dodgers. That is more based off of Clayton Kershaw, how well he's pitched. But again, don't feel great about this game from a betting standpoint. So I would fade this one. I do like the hitters in this game. I feel like there's going to be some opportunities for the Dodger hitters against Yu Darvish. But for Dodgers Padres, there's a part of me that wants to fade this game and not touch it. Yeah, Jesus, if I were going to put down a unit on this game, it would be the Dodgers, but it's not a game that really jumps out to me as a great betting opportunity. And the reason I say that is, one, the right-handed hitters of the Padres, it wouldn't shock me if they had a good night against Kershaw, Machado, Bogarts, and obviously Fernando Tatis back in the order. They don't have a great history against Kershaw, but good enough for me to go, okay, I'm a little hesitant. But more importantly, Yu Darvish, I don't quite know what I'm going to get from him, so this isn't a game I really have my eye on. I was taken by the fact that the under has been a strong play between these two teams of late. So maybe the under, given the pitching matchup, is the one place I may look. Here, let's go back to that actually and see if the under is a strong play. So, over-under is set at 7.5 for this game. Here, you see it on your screen if you're watching on TikTok Live and YouTube. Again, guys, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you're following Butt Fumble Sports. So there you see the total. A lot of runs were scored in that Dodgers-Phillies series. The under has been a better play for the Padres of late. Head-to-head, these are from October. You know, these are. But here's the kind of trend that we're looking for. Here it's on the right side of the screen. The under hit in 9 of the San Diego Padres' last 12 games as an underdog in 2023. That is a stat I like. That's a stat I like. So, Jesus, to the question of what do we like out of this game now, we have now gotten enough data between the trends over the last few times these teams have played and that trend about the Padres being an underdog. I'm going to take the under in this game. Let's add that to some of our favorite bets of the day. So we're getting that at under 7.5. Under 7.5. I'm getting that at plus money. So one more time, that's LAD SD under 7.5 runs, and I'm getting that at plus 105. Did we say 105? Plus 105. So as I mentioned, here are some of our favorite bets of the night. In doing our research throughout the show, here are a few of the bets that we would have had no idea about. These aren't some of my favorite plays. These aren't picks that I had yesterday or last night when we posted stuff to our website. These are picks purely from doing our research during our show, during the last 55 minutes, using Outlier and some of our other tools to find bets that have good probability, have a good track record, are part of a good trend. Here are 4 of them. We have a couple of prop bets and, of course, a total play in the Dodgers-Padres. And again, this is the kind of research that you can do when you have the right tools around you. So there's a few picks that we like. Also now want to look at Irving was asking about Pirates and Blue Jays. Okay, for that Pirates-Blue Jays game, I mentioned this earlier. I love the over in that game. The over is the one that I really like in this one, and you'll see why. Boom. Toronto Blue Jays have been a powerhouse on the over of late. They've scored a lot of runs. They've also been giving up a lot of runs. Their pitching hasn't been nearly as good as you would like. So for so many reasons, I like the over in that Pirates-Blue Jays game. For that reason, because I feel so strongly about the Blue Jays offense, if I did have to place a bet on that one, it would be Blue Jays on the money line. I would even consider taking Blue Jays at the -1.5 on the run line. I know the Pirates have been red hot at home, and they're coming off a sweep. They got swept. Both these teams actually are coming off being swept. The Red Sox swept the Blue Jays, and the Rays swept the Pirates. So both these teams trying to bounce back. The big difference for me, the Pirate hitters had their bats cooled off in Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, Toronto hitters were still hot in Boston. They just gave up a ton of runs to a red-hot Red Sox offense. So for so many reasons, I definitely like the over in the Pirates-Blue Jays game, but I also would lean towards Blue Jays on the money line. Okay, Gavin's got another question for us. Payne, over 10.5 points. He'll play good minutes without CP3 playing. That's absolutely true. 10.5 points seems high to me. And one of the reasons I feel like that's going to be high is I feel like he's going to be a facilitator more than he's going to be a scorer. Let's check out his point total. It's one that off the cuff I'm not crazy about, but let's look into it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a trend worth seeing here. Let's check out Cameron Payne. We're looking at Cameron Payne total points. Cameron Payne points. And let's just move right to points. We don't need to scroll. Okay. Right off the top, you see it here. Under 11.5 implied probability 61%, 10.5 49%. Your question was about 10.5 points, Gavin. Let's dive into the 10.5 points. Again, 49% probability, so it's almost a true coin flip. It's a really tough one because you can see playoffs. It's just got that one outlier, but it's not a good reflection. I think. Let's look at what he's done at home. Oh, it's only just, yeah. It's too bad because this is one in which I feel like we need to do some more research on it. So Cameron Payne stats. Let's just look at his stats over the course of the season. We looked at his game log stats, but let's just look at when he was playing during the regular season a little bit, when he was getting more minutes. So when he was getting more minutes, he still was around, like, his highest point total was 14 points in the last in the last month and a half. He had 14 points on March 25th, but other than that, he hasn't had 14 points since March 16th. Okay, let's look at his splits. At home, 11.5 points. That's a good sign for you. That's a great sign for you. The fact that he's averaging 11.8 points at home this year. It's great. Great note. As a starter, here's what we're looking for. Gavin, this is what we're looking for. So maybe a little hard to see on the screen, but yeah, hard to see because I gotta maneuver it, but I'm just gonna read it to you. So when he plays as a starter this year, he's played 15 games as a starter where he's played about 30 minutes, averaging 14.9 points. Averaging 14.9 points as a starter. Really like that. Against Denver this year, though, he's only had 2 games, 11 minutes, 1 point. I'm not really going to take his game log stats against Denver as the lead. I'm more going to look towards what he did as a starter. I'm actually willing to say take the over 10.5 points. I don't feel great about it. It's not a bet I would make, but if you're asking for my advice based off of the data we just looked at, the trends, where would I go with Cameron Payne over under 10.5 points? I think I'd take the over. I don't think it's going to be much more than 10.5. I think it's going to end up being like 12, 13, 14 points. I think it's somewhere there. But based off of what we've seen, again, data, trends, the analytics, I like the over 10.5 points. Guys, make sure you're hitting that follow button. That way you know every time we're live. Butt Fumble Sports is a new sports content company that's all about delivering information for you, the fan, the best way we know how. You can check out our website. You can hit the link in our bio. It takes you right to our website, buttfumblesports.com. We put out a DFS lineup, our favorite betting plays of the day, as well as game picks for individual NBA games. You can go to that website, buttfumblesports.com. Again, the link is in our bio. If you guys need help with any of your picks, we're here for a few more minutes, so make sure you throw those questions and comments in the chat. Here for our daily pregame show, helping with all of your sports betting needs. So if you have questions, we haven't answered any about the NHL game tonight. If any of you guys are curious about which way to bet that, if you have player prop bet questions, here for all of it. Duffel bag, I appreciate that. No, we're not new. You're totally right. We've been helping people. And by the way, we are so excited for the football season. I know it's only 4 months away, but we are already getting pumped about the NFL because last year we did so well in fantasy advice. We did so well with our DFS plays, and we did really well with our bets. Can you imagine how good we're going to be with another year of experience here at Butt Fumble Sports? I can't wait. But Duffel Bag, appreciate you joining us. And just like so many here, we're just developing this incredibly loyal following. Duffel Bag, Gavin, Blease, Irving, Jesus, Alexander, you guys have been absolutely great. Love the support you guys show us. Make sure you guys hit that follow button and you're a part of this great community. Duffel Bag knows this is the place to go for your NFL information, but that's not what we do during this time of year. It's NBA, MLB, and NHL. So if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. We're here to help you with all of it. And guys, make sure you go check out Outlier. We have a pinned tweet on our Twitter account. Sports Fumble is our Twitter account. That pinned tweet takes you right to Outlier. It's a great tool. I'm going to show it right now on the screen. It's a great tool. We've been using it to help find the best player prop bets and bets of the day. Definitely a great tool. We're a big fan. Check it out. Outlier, great tool for you. Butt Fumble Sports definitely supports it. We've been live for about an hour. We got just a few more minutes left. If you guys have any more questions, throw them in the chat. Now's the time. We're about to get out of here, so place our bets and go eat some food. It's almost dinner time where I'm at. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Any more questions today? For all those who are just joining, I'm going to throw up on the screen what have been our favorite picks of the day based off of our research. Based off of the research today. So if for those guys who, for everyone who missed during the show, the research that we did, again, these are picks that I didn't have prepared before the show. Based off of the research, the trends that we found, definitely a great place to find it. I don't know, Jesus. I think they have a low subscription fee, so go check it out. Let us know. Here are some of the picks that we found. Irving's got one more for us, Arizona and the Nationals. Let's check it out. Arizona Diamondbacks and the Washington Nationals. Let's check out that game. So let's take a look at Diamondbacks on the money line. Diamondbacks on the money line. Irving with his last question. So there you see Washington's actually been a hot play of late. Won 4 of their last 5. That's against the Cubs and the Pirates, so pretty good. Meanwhile, Arizona won 3 of its last 5, but struggled a little bit in their series against the Texas Rangers. Head-to-head, we haven't had a head-to-head since last July, so not a great indicator. Looking at the pitching matchup, though, what's interesting to note, 3.06 ERA, 2.67 ERA. Low ERAs. Low ERAs. Now, I am going to jump over to our covers because I want to see the 2 starting pitchers, Josiah Gray and Merrill Kelly. One of the things I like to do, by the way, for those who are asking, want to make sure I bring this up. Outlier has a free trial with a monthly or yearly subscription, so you can check it out for a month before you have to subscribe. So a great tool that you can try for a month if you're not a fan of it, which would be crazy not to be. But if you're not, you can always unsubscribe. So Josiah Gray, I just want to look at what his stats have been against the hitters that he'll be facing in that Diamondbacks lineup. So there you just see, maybe you don't because we're not doing a great job of showing it on the screen here. Let's shift that up. Okay. This is what Arizona hitters have done against Josiah Gray. Nada. Nothing. So Arizona hitters have not hit him well. Limited exposure, though. Only 10 at-bats, but only 1 hit. The other pitcher in this one is Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly. Again, I'm just answering this one question about the Washington Nationals Arizona Diamondbacks game. Meanwhile, interesting to note here, Irving, again, it's a 7-day trial. Thank you, Blease. 7-day trial for Outlier. But again, interesting note here, against Merrill Kelly, Washington National hitters, 304 batting average. Oh, I don't know why that did that. So, Washington's been hot of late. Washington has been hot of late. Plus, the pitching matchup, at least based off the stats, favors Washington as well. I'm going to go with Washington, Irving. I'm going to go with Washington, believe it or not. And probably my favorite play for this one would be taking Washington on the run line, rather. Washington on the run line. Washington plus 1.5 runs is minus 122. That's a great play. That actually is a play that's worth making right here. The Nationals have been red hot of late. Arizona's covered that a couple times, but I like that. I like Nationals covering the plus 1.5 run line. So that's our last pick that we're going to give out. Irvin, appreciate you joining us. Jesus, all of you guys, appreciate all of you guys joining us. This has been another outstanding show. Make sure you guys are following us, Butt Fumble Sports. We are live every single day. We are live every single day on TikTok Live, YouTube Live. We are live every single day to help you with your sports bets, DFS, your fantasy plays, and of course, just a rant about sports. So make sure you're following us. That way you know every time we come on live, you can ask your questions, get great bets, also engage with other people in the chat. Because I assure you, a lot of the fans, and we saw it today, saw it in yesterday's show, a lot of the viewers also have great picks of their own, so you can always find nuggets in the community of Butt Fumble Sports followers. Anyway, I want to give a big shout out to Blease. He helps us with our production behind the scenes. And also want to give a big shout out to the entire Butt Fumble Sports community. You guys are freaking awesome. Love the support you guys show us. You're absolutely the best. Duffel Bag, appreciate you. And I know that that draft coverage was awesome. Can't wait to do more draft coverage when it comes to the NBA. And of course, the NFL is only a few months away, so we'll be doing plenty of fantasy sports coverage soon enough. Guys, have a great night. Enjoy the games tonight. Hope your tickets cash. If you want to engage with us, DM us, hit us up on Twitter. Make sure you hit us up. We're always happy to engage with our fans and our followers. Have a great night. Good luck with your bets. We'll see you tomorrow.